Today we're looking at why all guitarists need good lubrication. Using the LX Wet Lubricant Oil from Axe Wax. And what we're going to look at is all the areas to lubricate. So as you can see here, I'm working on the tuning pegs. And what I'm doing is pouring a little drop onto the tuning peg and then turning it so it does a full 360, making sure the lubricant oil goes all the way around. And I'm pushing up against it a bit of cloth just to make sure I'm wiping up any overspill. Now these tuning pegs is hard to get at the gears, but luckily the locking mechanism comes out, so I can pour a little bit of the oil into where the gears are inside the enclosure, and then again turning everything 360 to make sure it goes through all the gears. You won't be able to do this on all tuning pegs, so you won't be able to get into the gears if they're sealed up. I'm just going to show you here something I've got which is looks like a pen, but you can fill it up with the lubricant oil. And then it allows you to put very fine amounts of drips, very controlled in different places. So you can push the end and a drop comes out, or you can let the drop accumulate at the end of the nib and then dab it onto something. This was really cheap. I think it was £10 off of Amazon. If you have got enclosed machine heads, you can go in to the gears like I have just here. Basically, I'm trying to lubricate anything that might turn or be moved in any way, and that includes putting a bit on the nut like this is in the nut slot, because the string is going to go over the nut slot, and when you tighten the string by tuning, it's going to involve the string moving backwards and forwards through this slot. So it's always good to put a drop in here. And again, I'm wiping away any excess. Another way to do it if you don't have the dripper and you don't want as much coming out as from the bottle itself is to use what I would call a cotton bud, but I think in America they call them Q-tips. So here I'm putting a little bit on the string under where it goes on the string retainer. And I've actually put it on the string and then on the edge of the retainer, and then as I tighten the string it's going to slide under the retainer and make sure the underneath of the retainer is nice and lubed up. Now, I find it's quite useful as well on things like the controls, especially a selector switch, which can go backwards and forwards, helps it slide a bit more smoothly, especially if it's getting gunked up after years of use. And the same on any knobs. Basically, as I keep repeating myself, anything that rotates, it's worth putting a drop on. Now, obviously, lots of bridges work in different ways, but the string's always going to go over a saddle at some point. So it's worth just putting a bit on there just to make sure it's a nice, smooth connection. And again on the screws as it goes through the saddle, especially if you're doing any intonation. Now I'm just going to show you here on a Floyd Rose. Again, I'm putting it on the same part of the saddle where the string goes over the saddle. The main thing that turns on a Floyd Rose are the fine tuners, so I'm going to make sure I put a bit on here, and then again once I've done it I'll turn them the 360 or just a little bit backwards and forwards to make sure the lubricant oil really soaks into the thread of the screw and wipe up any excess. Now I think it might be overkill putting it on the springs, but if you've got springs that are really squeaky and creaky when you move them, you might as well do it. Now this point here, which is the screws that go into the blocks that hold the strings in place, you hardly ever turn them except when you're changing strings, but you might as well lube them up because they're going to get gunky and dirty over time, so you want to make sure that when it comes to changing your strings, they're easily going to unscrew. Don't forget to stay lubricated and stay safe. Until next time, happy strumming.